So I found out today that my daughter and I may have been exposed, possibly, to COVID uh, by somebody at the theme park that we went to on Monday. Chances of us actually being exposed are slim, but this person had traveled from out of the area, had was showing symptoms, knew they were possibly sick, went to a local restaurant and then out to Silver Dollar City, um, knowing they were possibly sick. Got home, found out they had COVID, possibly exposed a whole entire park. Now, the claim is that they were wearing a mask, although we saw a lot of people there that weren't wearing it right. My daughter and I were keeping our space. We wore our masks the whole time. Now, the way the mask works is it basically keeps you from exposing other people to anything you might have. It doesn't keep you necessarily safe from what other people have. That's what the distance is for. But this person may or may not have been wearing their mask correctly, may or may not have exposed a bunch of people at Silver Dollar City, knew that they weren't feeling well, found out after they got home. And I have to confess, being absolutely real with you, I'm a little upset with them. Knowing that they could have possibly been sick, they went out and exposed how many people? Hundreds? Perhaps thousands of people? Because they wanted a fun day. How many people might get sick? Hopefully none. Hopefully everybody kept their distance from this person. Hopefully all the other safety precautions took effect. But basically, they went out knowing that they could possibly risk other people's lives. That's frustrating. Frustrating. How often, though, do we have people do things to us that hurt us? As a pastor, let's just say I've been hurt a lot. I have been attacked a lot. Pastors, we get stuff dumped on us sometimes, but we're not unique in that. How many people out there, how many of you watching, have had somebody do something that hurt, maybe deeply? You can think of major offenses that come to mind, but just cutting off communication because they don't want to talk to you or like you. Physical abuse, mental abuse, financial abuse, all sorts of things. How many of us have struggled with the fact that people have wronged us? And then we look at the Bible and we look at the Lord's Prayer in Matthew, where part of it is, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass us against us. That we are repeatedly told that we have to forgive other people. That we are repeatedly told that we are forgiven in the same way that we forgive others. And let's face it, forgiveness on the surface is simple, but when it comes down to it, it's hard, especially when you have been deeply hurt. How do we forgive? What is forgiveness? Forgiveness is one of those things that we struggle with because of the emotional pain. Forgiveness is not letting everything go and forgetting it and pretending it didn't happen. That isn't what it is. What forgiveness really is it is releasing your desire for vengeance, justice, recompense, and turning it over to somebody else. It's basically saying, look, you have injured me, you have hurt me, and I could demand justice and repayment, but I'm not. I'll let you take that up with God. I will leave it to God to deal with. I will let it go and not seek what I could seek. That doesn't mean the pain goes away right away. It is a way to heal the pain, but oftentimes you have to forgive repeatedly, especially if it's a great pain, a great hurt. I've had times where people have hurt me that I've had to forgive them multiple times a day. Sometimes, I've had a boss, I had a pastor who had a lot of influence over what I was doing and where I was working at the time, and it wronged me seriously, and not just a short-term thing, but stuff that I had to deal with for a few years afterwards. Even if it wanted to just let go, it kept coming up because of what they had done. And I kept having to repeatedly deal with it. And every time it was just like, oh. And knowing that they'd wronged, I have to sit there every time and say, Lord, help me to forgive them. I'm hurt. I'm mad. You know I've been wronged. You know I have a just cause. But God, let me release them to you. And let you be the arbiter of justice. Let you be the one to decide what to happen. Let you be the one to help me treat them appropriately. One, so that they don't hurt me again needlessly. That they don't take advantage of me again. But at the same time, not to do it in such a way where I am striking back at them to hurt them. Let me be just. Let me be forgiving. Let me be loving. It's hard. Oh, it's hard. It means releasing things that you feel like you have a right to hold on to and hold against them. And then having to let somebody else deal with it. I've had people that have hurt bad, and you don't want to let go. God, don't you know what they've done to me? God, don't you understand? And I think back to when Jesus was on the cross. He'd been mocked. He'd been abused. People were laughing at him, calling out his name. Of course, he'd been beaten. His beard had been ripped out. He'd been punched in the face. His clothes were ripped off of him. He's up there crucified, bleeding, suffering, being tortured, knowing he's going to die. And in the midst of all that, instead of calling down legions of angels, which he could, to strike them all down, instead of bringing justice and judgment against all of these people who did that, and showing them that he is the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, and he can do it, instead he cries out, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they do. Wow. In my own flesh, I don't know if I could do that. And I'm just being real and honest. On my own, I can't do that. I don't have that much patience and love in me. I wish I did. We should. But the reality is we don't. We just don't. And yet God on the cross showed us what we are supposed to be, what we're supposed to do, the level that we're supposed to reach out for. When Jesus can forgive murderers, and not just any murderers, but his own murderers. Wow, that's a lot of love and forgiveness. It's hard because we look at people who've hurt us, and one of the things that we do to cope with it is we start convincing ourselves in ways that they're not human. They're not on the same level of humanity. Well, they're not right. There's something wrong. There's something evil about them because of what they did to us. And we have to remember that they're just as human as we are. And yes, they're doing wrong. But it isn't our place to stand in judgment. We can judge the actions and the deeds, but it's God's job to judge the person. And ultimately, that's what forgiveness is saying, Lord, by rights I could stand in judgment, but I won't take those rights. I will let you do it. I will let you be the one to decide right and wrong, and I will let you be the one to decide judgment and sentence and punishment and work it on them. And I'll let that go. And as we do that, the pain will ease. It will ease. I would love to be able to say that it will go away. It doesn't always, especially when it's a deep hurt. It may take time. It may take a lot of time, depending upon what it is and who it is and how bad it is. Sometimes it means that we really have to sit there and we have to live a lifetime, for some, a lifetime, of saying they've wronged me, they've hurt me deeply, but I will let it go and let God. Forgiveness is one of the most difficult things to do that God's called us to do. But then when we realize that we were enemies of his, That's really what we were. We were living for ourselves, not him. We didn't care what God felt or thought or what we did to him. We just went ahead and did it no matter how much it hurt him and wronged him. And yet, while we were yet sinners, while we were enemies of God, he loved us so much that he gave his life to forgive us and set the example and the pattern of laying down his life for those he calls friends. He calls friends the people who were his enemies. I don't deserve forgiveness. The truth is, none of us do. I don't deserve the grace and mercy that he showed to me when I came to him and said, Lord, I've messed up and I've done this and this and that, this other thing and this horrible other thing. And what about that person over there I hurt? And I hurt that person deeply. And oh my goodness, I offended. And I guess that's part of the reason why it's easier, because I have a long list of sins. I have a long list of grievances that other people rightly held against me. I carried the weight of a person I hurt deeply way back when I was 19, 20 years old. Not meaning to, but I did. And I carried that with me for a long time, the guilt of that. Until finally I was able to get an opportunity to talk to them. And it was wonderful to know they'd forgiven me a long time ago and it was no big deal to them. But at the same time, I knew that what I had done could have left scars that lasted their lifetime. And I was so grateful for their forgiveness. And knowing that they forgave me was such a weight off of my shoulders once I finally realized what I had done. It just took me a while to get to that. But knowing the release I had when I was forgiven by God and forgiven by that person, means that I also want to strive to be able to give that same feeling of release to other people who've wronged me. When finally they realize, hopefully they do. Not everybody does, but I pray that that's God's work to change and show them and reveal itself to them and correct them. I can't do it. Every time I try to change somebody and fix them, I fail miserably because I don't have that power. I don't have that ability. None of us do. And the more we try to change and fix other people, the more we're going to fail and get frustrated and irritated and grumble. But the more we let God do it, the more we take those times when we've been hurt and offended and we say, you know what, God, I can't fix this. I can't fix them. I can't change them. But you can. Here, I'm going to take this, I'm going to give it to you. And I'm going to have to do this again and again and again because it hurts so bad. But I will give it to you and not take it back and not demand judgment for me. And he does. The book of Psalms is absolutely wonderful because you look at what David went through and how many times in the book of Psalms David is praying, Lord, deliver me from my enemies. They're pursuing me. They're wanting to kill me. I've done nothing wrong except represent you, and here they want to slaughter me like a lamb. God, deliver me and bring judgment against them. Help me to forgive them because you are the loving God, not me. And releasing it repeatedly to God. And there's a number of Psalms that David does this. He doesn't just do it once. It's over and over and over because he has to keep doing it. But as he lives that lifestyle of forgiveness, that's what sets him apart as a man after God's own heart. And as we learn to forgive, a process, a painful one, I pray that God will lead you in the same way. Thanks so much for watching. God bless.